Welcome back for episode 20 of the Believe in Padres Prospects podcast on the Believe Podcast Network.
San Diego's #1 sports podcast network.
Wade's back. That's Wade's voice. How you doing, Wade?
Doing great.
You've been kind of in and out the last couple of weeks.
Been, busy.
You missed a couple interviews. You listened to the show while you were gone?
I did listen.
Wow, upset.
I know, right?
Had Kyle Glazer from Baseball America. Had Ben Chase from Prospects Live. Pretty good guests. And I guess we've got you back with no guest. We're working on a guest for next week, so hopefully you can be there for that.
Should be a great guest if we get him.
Ooh, yeah, teaser.
Big get.
On today's show, we're not going to do on today's show. We're just going to get right into the show today. And by get into the show, I mean the topic that's number one in everyone's minds is the new uniforms. So,
love them.
The subsequent new rebranding of the Padres. I think it's been the biggest thing to hit the Padres. Did I make this case on the show before? It's the biggest thing for the Padres since they moved into Petco.
False.
Okay,
Manny
well,
Machado.
that's been my opinion, and I think it holds up because even when Machado signed, we didn't see the kind of fanfare we saw around this event.
I heard they were giving out free booze at Petco.
Damn, why didn't we go?
I know, we should have been there.
Is that my phone vibrating?
That is.
That should be a fine. Silence that. You want
Claws on you.
Thanks. Do you have any White Claw? We need to have just White Claws stocked in here. Can we get them as a sponsor, maybe? Brought to you by White Claw?
Yeah.
Maybe just Mango. Brought to you by White Claw Mango.
Yeah, let's have our people talk to their people.
What'd you think of the uniforms? Because that supersedes any prospect news, which there isn't a lot of these days. It's November. So, uniforms, go.
I love them. My favorite is the road pinstripe uni.
No, it's not. You told me it was the brown.
Yeah, no, the road pinstripe. That's my favorite.
The grayish, brownish,
Yes.
whatever color that is.
That one.
Why don't we call it Padres tan? What do you want?
Sand? I don't know.
It's not true sand because the last sand uniform was very sandy.
Yeah.
The Brian Giles era one, which was in retrospect hideous. I respect the play, but it was not a good jersey.
Yeah, no, the brown pinstripes are sick.
What are we going to call that color?
Padres brown? I don't know.
It's not Padres. Padres brown is like that dark chocolatey color that they wear.
Black brown?
We'll work on it. We'll workshop that. Anyway, that's my favorite too. The white pinstripe is great, but some notes from the unveiling. One, there's no alternate home uniform. So they're going to be wearing white all the effing time.
Well, no, they can wear that brown one at home too.
They're not.
It's just permanent alternate.
I don't think they're going to. Isn't that the primary road? They said the brown was the primary road.
I thought the pinstripe was the primary road. I think we're off here.
This is confusing. We haven't talked about this, but it's confusing because technically they're both brown. So when I heard the brown is the road,
solid brown with no pinstripes is the alternate.
That's why that confused me because someone told me when they first came out that was the primary road, the brown.
I don't think that's the case.
I hope not, because I love the gray with the pinstripes. But the brown one, I don't like that it says San Diego. I wish it said Padres, or I wish it was just the SD intertwine logo in the chestal corner. Would you have ever seen one of those? Because that was my opinion on it.
It should have said Padres, like the 98 type Padres over that.
Yeah, or the one that they've been wearing on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Or the Friday homes. Yeah.
Right.
I like those.
Are they still going to do like way back Wednesdays and stuff, or you think they're over that?
No, I think every team still does that. They have a throwback night. Literally every team does those.
So we'll still do like the 98 pinstripes on Wednesdays?
I hope it's the 98. I could see them changing it. You never know. They might do 70s or the 80s one.
I mean, blue's a throwback now.
Oh, that blue. The same 98 set, the blue one.
Well, what if they went back throwback like to the sand one?
I'd rather see the whites. No, we're not throwing back. Get out of here. And no alternate hat, which I thought was interesting. It's going to be the same hat across the board, which they did on purpose. They made a real conscious decision to say, hey, this is our hat. We're wearing it for every game. This is the Padres brand. We're not going to get cute with it, which I kind of respect. But I would have liked to have seen that. Same with the Friday brown that they currently wear. They have that brown and yellow hat with the yellow front. Do you know what I mean? With the brown
one?
What?
The yellow panel one?
Yeah, it's the brown hat with the yellow panel in the front with the SD and brown on the front.
I got to get a new hat.
But that's a good hat. It's kind of a throwbackish hat with kind of a fresh take, a modern flair. And I wish they had done something kind of like that. It's just an alternate hat that they can wear once in a while.
Yeah.
But the hat's great. I'm not going to complain about the hat that they have.
We got to get some.
I think the color's good. I like the goldness of the yellow. I think it's a really good color choice by whoever picked that. And the new font type, which is slightly different, but even side by side, I can barely tell the difference. Did you notice they picked a new font?
Did not even notice.
They switched the little flares at the ends of the S and the D to I think they flattened it a little bit. They made the S and the D fit better together. I don't know what they did, but they did something, and whatever it did, it's a great hat. And the uniform unveiling was a complete success. I'm just not – I'm 85% satisfied.
Did you like all three of the guys they brought out there?
What do you think?
Who would you have replaced Hosmer with?
4-time Gold Glove Award winner Eric Hosmer. You have to have Hosmer because he's the veteran leader.
Or do you go Paddock instead of Hosmer?
That I would – in a perfect world where I get everything that I want and no one's feelings are hurt, I would have picked Paddock because I think he would have been more fun. But I understand why they had to pick Hosmer. He's the oldest guy they gave him a ton of money. He's the veteran. This is his job. This is what he's supposed to do.
Supposed to recruit.
Face the franchise. He's the recruiter. Yeah. So, I mean, if this decision was up to you and the Padres said, "Hey, Wade, pick 3 guys," these are the 3 guys you would have come up with, right?
What about Hedges? Dreamy.
If you want a Gold Glove this year.
True.
Just pick the hottest guys.
Yeah.
Is Hosmer not hot?
I don't know.
Machado's not. Machado's weird looking.
Yeah.
His ears stick out like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's bad. Anyway, uniforms are fire. I think they just vaulted to the top of the top uniforms in the National League.
And trending on Twitter, throughout the country. I don't think anyone has anything.
They're going to get a ton of attention. I can't wait for the first nationally televised game where John Smoltz is drooling over the uniforms.
Start seeing Padres jerseys and rap videos again.
Well, we see those brown and yellow jerseys they gave away for the All-Star game. Those are everywhere.
Yep.
Let's move it on to roster issues, which are happening in the winter. It's November, so there's not a lot going on. But as we discussed before, winter meetings are next month, and they're right here in our own backyard. We said they're at the Hilton Bayfront.
Yep.
Or I always get the Hilton Bayfront mixed with the Hyatt. Not the Hyatt.
The Hyatt's too old now.
Didn't they have it there last time?
I thought it was at the Hilton as well.
See, this is my problem. Was
it at the Omni last time?
No, not the Omni. It could be at the Omni. I don't think the Omni is big enough. They probably don't have the conference space.
I don't know, that 4th floor, there's some conference space there.
Yeah, it's pretty big. But it's such an event. It's like the Hyatt is nice because it has the 2 hotels right next to each other. But I think it's at the Hilton, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, it's at Hilton. Anyway, it used to be a really big time for free agency and trades in recent years, but lately, the last couple of years, we're seeing a total shift in when players are signing and when players are getting traded. So I don't expect much to change. I'm guessing there's probably some really small, unexciting deals that happen, if any happen at all. So the real thing that's going to be occurring during the winter meetings that's of interest to me at least is the Rule 5 draft. And the Rule 5 is usually fun, I think, for about a day. The players involved are rarely impact players that they're being lost by a team or being signed by a team. And they rarely even stay with the club. They're usually cut because it's really hard to stay on a 25-man roster all year. But in the Padres case, think Alan Cordoba, your boy. We had a couple years ago. I think he was from St. Louis. He stayed on the roster all year, and he's been playing in Lake Elsinore lately. Luis Torrens from the Yankees. Those were both Rule 5 guys that stuck with the team all year, and the Padres were able to retain their rights. Torrens turned into a pretty viable catching prospect who...
Great little season.
Not even just that, but he's like a candidate for a backup catcher's position, I think, this year.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of things about Hedges in the news where... Look, everybody still loves his defense. He's not forgotten for his defense anymore. People all know how good a defender he is, and it's pretty embarrassing, I think, by Major League to not give him the Gold Glove award when he was so head and shoulders above anyone else at the catcher's position defensively. Defensive runs added, he was like, I think 26, and the next best catcher was 19.
I think he was even further than that.
It was whatever it was. It wasn't. He's in his own tier. It's not even close.
I think he was like 10 or more above.
And as much as Hedges bothers me, it's kind of disgusting he didn't win the Gold Glove award.
It's not the Gold Glove award.
It's the gold. Well, I don't know. What else does he get? He's handsome, too. He's got to hit a few more home runs, I guess. That's all that matters.
Yep.
Where was I? So this year's a little different because the Padres are competing. So I kind of don't anticipate them trying to roster one of these jabronis on the 26-man.
Yeah, I don't see them getting anybody. It's just...
I think last year they traded for like 3 guys, didn't they? And I've already forgotten who they all were. I didn't bother to go look them up because who cares?
And none of them stuck.
No. That's what generally happens with the Rule 5. Do we need a Rule 5 refresher before we get into the Rule 5 more?
I think the fans know.
Do we trust the fans?
I mean, Miggs for sure doesn't.
No. So this is for Miggs. Players signed at the age of 18 must be added to the 40-man roster within 5 seasons of their signing.
Right.
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And players that are 19 years old when they're either drafted or signed get 4 years. And then if you're not on a 40-man roster by that time, the whole rule is to make sure that teams are not hoarding loads and loads of talent that have been in the organization for many years and have no hope of cracking the roster. So teams can't hoard talent.
Right.
It makes sense, right? So players that are eligible, that are not protected by their teams on the 40-man roster are all eligible to be drafted by any major league. The draft takes place reverse order like any other draft of your standings from the year before. And when you pick a player, if you pick a player, you sign them for $100,000 and they have to stay on your 26-man roster the entire year, or they're offered back to their former team for $50,000, or they become free agents. That's kind of how that works.
Right.
Or if they clear waivers, you can send them to the minors.
Yeah, or any other team. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Rule 5 in a nutshell. People forget the first-year player draft, Major League Baseball, is actually the Rule 4 draft. So that was the Rule 4. This is the Rule 5.
I had no idea there was a Rule 4 draft.
Yeah, that's the Rule 4. It's all part of how they account for them in the MLB rule book. And like they'll have technical names, and I don't know why we call the Rule 5 the Rule 5, and the Rule 4 is actually the first-year player draft, but whatever. So anyway, interesting players that are available this year who the Padres are going to have to either protect or just let go. There's 2, according to MLB.com, that are in our top 30. They are Buddy Reed and Esteury Ruiz. So Esteury Ruiz has been a really interesting guy. He came over from Kansas City in the deal for it was part of this Trevor Cahill, Brandon Maurer, Ryan Buchter deal to the Royals, and the Padres got Travis Wood and Matt Strom and Esteury Ruiz.
Just a lot of trash in that trade.
Yeah, just Padres sending trash to Kansas City and Kansas City sending a lot of trash back to San Diego.
Yep.
Although, do we like Matt Strom in the bullpen this year? He's shown flashes.
He can be okay in the bullpen, but he can only be in the bullpen.
I thought I was going to like him as a starter, and it looks like he's not going to hold up as a starter.
South Dakota or North Dakota?
I'm going to say North Dakota.
Okay.
I think if you're from a Dakota, I feel like most people are from North Dakota.
Yeah, you don't hear many people from South Dakota.
No one's from South Dakota, although the Mount Rushmore is in South Dakota.
True.
Capital? Pierre.
Really?
North Dakota? Capital? Bismarck.
Wow.
Look at me flexing my Dakota knowledge. Can't that just be one state? Why are there 2 Dakotas? No opinion on that?
Yeah, I don't know. Never been there. Probably never will.
We're gonna fact check Matt Strom. Place of birth, West Fargo, North Dakota.
Great movie.
West Fargo was?
Fargo.
Underrated? Did you see the show?
Oh, yeah. Love the show.
I didn't watch the show.
It's very good. Highly recommend.
There's too many good shows. This is what I hate about the golden age of TV that we're in. I can't watch 50 shows. There's 50 good shows out right now. I can't watch them all. It's impossible.
Landry from Friday Night Lights.
Didn't watch Friday Night Lights.
What?
Not 1 second.
Get the fuck out of here.
I didn't watch 1 second of that show.
Best shows of all time.
Blue Mountain State?
Never watched.
I didn't watch that either. Okay. But I'm not a big high school football show. I didn't play high school football. Why do I care about your high school football show? Cool, you drink and you have teenage sex. Great. Your team went 8-0.
There's so much more to Friday.
8-man football. Sweet.
Clear eyes. Full heart.
Disgusting. Who cares? Where were we? So Buddy Reed, I don't think anybody would mind if Buddy Reed got picked up by someone. Would you care?
No, but I think he definitely will get picked up.
I think he has to because the draft isn't super deep. And Buddy Reed has shown flashes, especially the last couple years. I mean, coming out of Florida, athlete, not a baseball player first, athlete first. Plug for athletes first. But he's never been... He didn't listen to the show. He didn't get any of that last week.
Nope.
Or 2 weeks ago. But Buddy Reed, I'm not worried about losing Buddy Reed. I don't think he's a long-term option in any outfield. I think he's a fourth outfielder at best. And I think that fourth outfielder is emphasis on defense, and he's like a late inning substitute. Like
like pinch runner.
Yeah, I don't see Buddy Reed becoming anything. Esteury Ruiz is a little more tricky, I think. He's just been around for so long that you forget how young he is. He's a
4-year college player, though. He's not that young.
Oh, I'm talking about Esteury Ruiz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Buddy Reed's old as shit.
Yeah.
He's like our age now.
Right.
Not yet, but he's catching up. Esteury Ruiz he was in the Royal system at 17, so he's been around forever. He's going to be 21 this offseason. So he'll be 21 before he even gets picked in this Rule 5, assuming he gets left unprotected by the Padres. Padres have a ton of roster moves to make this offseason, either trades or free agency.
Can we trade them before the Rule 5 happens?
I want to say I actually don't know. I was going to say I think yes, but if you could, then you would just assume they get protected, right? Because why would the team trade for them if they're not going to protect them?
Yeah. So
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to ask someone. I don't know who. Ask Ben Chase. Ben Chase knows everything. Do you ever watch
Stump the Schwab?
No, but not bad. I did watch Stump the Schwab. I love Stump the Schwab. Why don't they bring Stump the Schwab back? ESPN has plenty of programming opportunities for Stump the Schwab.
ESPN's struggling. They need that.
And they have ESPN Plus now. Like, there's plenty of room to just stick a streaming Schwab.
Is Schwab still alive?
Too soon. Not if he's dead, though. Or not if he's alive.
Is he dead yet?
What was I going to ask you? Damn it, Wade. You threw me off with Stump the Schwab. Do you ever watch Pawn Stars?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who the Beard of Knowledge is?
No.
He works at the Clark County Museum. He wears the red shirt and the top hat and has a really big beard. And Rick always calls him in to like check out some weird piece of shit that came into the shop. And he's supposed to give historical context for it. Anyway, he just knows everything about everything. And I think Ben Chase is very similar to that guy.
Okay.
Not so much in appearance, although he's a big guy too. He played football at Minnesota. He was an O-lineman.
Minnesota.
Yeah, he was pretty stoked the other week when they upset Penn State.
Boat.
Yeah. Getting way off topic here. Esteury Ruiz is going to be tough to let go because of his age. He's going to be 21. Struggled a little bit in high A this year. Only hit 239. Didn't quite have the same power he had in the past. Didn't run quite as much, but speed is always going to be part of his game, even though he's not like your typical burner. He is really good at stolen bases. So a little bit of power, a lot of speed, the hit tool he's got to figure out. And the reason why I want to hold on to him is because he's so young, but then that's also the same reason why it's going to be difficult to, draft him, I guess, if you're another team, is who wants to carry a 21-year-old who's never played above high A, who actually struggled at high A last year, hitting the ball. And where does he play? Second base is an option, although he's kind of been moving around a lot in the Padres organization. He's played some center field. I think he ends up probably it depends on the organization he goes to, second base or center field. There's just not a lot of room right now in the Padres. I'm guessing they leave him unprotected and no one picks him up.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
I can see that.
Other guys eligible, Michael Geddes, another one of your boys, first team all prospects.
You remembered his name this time.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Jorge Oña, who had a really nice bounce back year with the Padres after battling some injuries. He looks like he can really hit, and I would also assume he gets left unprotected. I don't see him making the 40-man, and I would also assume that no one picks him up. I don't think anyone could carry Jorge Oña the entire season. Some lesser-known guys, Ivan Castillo, that's 3 guys in a row that made our Padres top prospects, top Padres all, what am I trying to say? The all Padres prospects list, that's the one. Ivan Castillo made it as a second baseman. He's actually a minor league free agent this year. So he could actually get signed first and then be protected on the 40-man. But I also expect him probably to be unprotected. And then he's good. He's just a little older. Had a really good year with the Saudis this year. And Lake Bacher also needs to be protected.
Great name.
He will also be left unprotected. And I don't anticipate anyone signing him either. So a much ado about nothing, as they say. So teams have until November 20th to decide who they're going to protect on the 40-man. And we'll know probably more about the intentions of what Preller's going to do this offseason, depending on who he decides to protect. But I'm thinking there's going to be plenty of roster spots available. He's not going to protect many of these guys. All the big-name guys that need protecting are, like Edward Olivares is already protected and Anderson Espinoza is already protected. The big guys next year are from that 2016 international free agency class.
Right, next year's the year we actually really have to worry about the Rule 5.
A ton of those guys. We're going to make a lot of decisions and possibly make some trades.
Yep. Make
Make some trades with some teams that are rebuilding, and you go get some of their veteran talent and you send them some of these guys who are Rule 5 eligible next year, and they can carry them on their 40-man roster no problem. I'm thinking Gabriel Arias is a really good candidate to get traded this offseason. As good as he is, and I talked about him with Benjamin Chase last week. He loves Gabriel Arias. Defensively,
not really a spot for him on the Padres roster.
No, I don't see how there could be a spot unless you transition him to second base. But then you're kind of wasting. Well, third with. I mean, he could play third, but what do you do with Manny Machado? Like he's nowhere else for Machado to play.
Yeah, true.
So that's what he just. It's not a bad thing to have so many good young players, and it's going to be a little tough to trade someone of his caliber. He's got the arm for third or short. You can't waste it at second base. Center field's going to be tough because C.J. Abrams knocking on the door also, and he's going to be the center fielder of the future. So I think he's a really good trade candidate, and it sucks when you have all these good prospects that you grow attached to over the years. Like you draft them, you sign them through international free agency. They're kind of your babies, and then you're forced to – it's like planting an avocado tree.
Why avocado?
We're in San Diego.
Okay.
They're expensive. Anyway, you plant the avocado tree. You let it
millennial podcast.
You start to let it grow a little bit. It gets really nice and big and healthy, and other people start to look and say, "Hey, that's a nice looking avocado tree. I'll give you $100 for that avocado tree." It's like, well, yeah, that's a really good price. The tree's probably worth $50, but I haven't had any avocado from it yet. I got the avocado tree because I wanted some avocados, and now you're trying to buy my tree before it's giving me avocados. It's tough because it was your tree. You planted it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm saying with Arias. You want to see him come up as a Padre and not go to another team and have success. But this is kind of what you have to do when you have so many good young prospects.
And we need something now.
And it's going to be very interesting to see what Preller does with the roster. We need pitching. You need catching. You need outfield help. You need a second baseman. I still don't know what they do with second base. You can't just give it to Ty France or Luis Arias again, because I've heard from around the team that they've kind of lost confidence in Luis Arias.
Finally, you come around.
I didn't say I had lost faith. I said the team's lost a little bit of faith.
Lost faith day one.
I don't know what they do there, but guys who got released from the 40-man, so Robbie Erlin's gone, Travis Jankowski's gone, Carl Edwards, Adam Warren, Aaron Loop, and Craig Stammen is a free agent. So I don't know if we even bring Craig Stammen back.
I want him back.
You do?
Yeah. He's a great little 7th, 8th inning guy.
He'd be better in the 7th. And it's nice having an older veteran guy there with Kirby Yates. And then you have the young guys around him, Michel Baez, Andres Munoz. My fitness consigliere. Michel's been having some digestive problems. So I think there's gonna be plenty of roster spots available, and it all depends on what Preller does at the winter meetings. I think making trades. I think there's gonna be a lot of Preller trades this year. I think it's gonna be a very different looking club going into 2020.
Yeah, I don't think he goes and gets anybody in the Rule 5 trap.
Probably not.
I think this is one of the years where we do nothing.
Remember I'm not gonna go there anyway. Yeah, I think you're right. I think his focus has needed to shift, and I hope it has shifted from building to reaping, which is harvesting, I guess, and supplementing.
Integrity.
You need to start picking the guys that you want to keep for the long haul and then building around them and then trading all the assets that you don't need for things that are going to help the big club right now. Anyway, we've talked enough about that. One thing I wanted to go over today also before we get out of here was Dinelson Lamet.
I never heard of half of these guys, and the ones I do know are way past their prime.
Most of these guys never had a prime.
This guy here is dead.
So an article that our friend, shout out to Rupert, follow him at Rupaloop. Is it at Rupaloop? I don't remember Twitter handles. Anyway, follow Rupert. Rupert's funny. From Beyond the Box Score, and you guys should all check it out. It's written by Cheryl Ring. I think it's also on SB Nation. I think they carry it. Basically asking the question, is Dinelson Lamet ready to be included in the ace discussion? And the article goes on, the title of the article goes as far to say that Lamet is already one of the best pitchers in baseball and better than his teammate Chris Paddock. Am I disrupting Wade's private show over there?
What are you talking about?
Nothing. I don't think it's fair to say Lamet is better than Paddock.
No.
Yet. For a few reasons. One, Lamet's never healthy. Like this was a bounce back year from Lamet coming back from Tommy John. He's been hurt a lot in his early career or whatever.
Right.
Paddock was a rookie last year and was awesome and kind of fell off at the second half of the season, but that's because he was worked harder than he's ever been worked before, threw more innings.
Picked it up at the end again.
True. Yeah, and they started
had a rough middle.
They started really kind of tapering off his pitches per inning and his pitches per game. I never understood why pitch count during a game was such a big deal, and then over the course of a season, innings are a big deal. If I'm throwing 100 pitches in 5 innings, and you're throwing 100 pitches in 8 innings, and my innings are way lower than yours at the end of the season, it's not like I had an easier...
Stay consistent.
It's not like I saved my arm because I threw less innings than you. We threw the same number of pitches. If anything, I worked harder because I threw more pitches per outing. That's always bugged me about MLB stat. Why don't we count pitches for the season and pitches per inning? Why isn't that a stat?
Yeah.
Well, let's look into that. Baseball Savant probably has it. But Paddock was a rookie, and Lamet is already 27 years old. So really...
I didn't realize he was that old.
27, yeah, sneaky old. He's been around forever. So kind of hard to compare the two. The crux of this article was getting at Lamet's... the success Lamet has had. So what our girl Cheryl did was compare a couple guys who were similar last year to the career numbers of Lamet. And Lamet's career numbers are limited, as you might guess, because he had Tommy John a couple years ago and missed all of last season, or all of 2 seasons ago, and then...
Not having read this article, I'm just going to guess here. They're probably pretty good, aren't they?
Upset, yes. So he's pitched 187 and a third innings for his career. We're comparing him to Aaron Nola and Max Scherzer, whose numbers from last year, Nola pitched 202 innings. Scherzer was 172 innings. Kind of low for Scherzer there. But the K percentage, so strikeout percentage, Max Scherzer 35%, Aaron Nola 27%, Lamet 33.5%. So that's a tremendous strikeout percentage.
Yeah.
Walk percentage, Aaron Nola 9.4, Scherzer 4.8, Lamet 9.6. So the higher end of the walk percentage. You kind of you don't want to be around 10%. 10% is not a good walk percentage. Ground ball percentage, he has the lowest of the three, 36%. Infield fly ball percentage, he has the highest of the three, which is great. You love infield flies. It's basically as guaranteed an out as you can get, unless you're Eric Hosmer. Houston reference.
Except Fernando Tatis run over to first and catch them all.
I would love that. 47th in four-seam fastball spin rate among pitchers who threw. You want to cough at a time that I'm not fucking Jesus. I can't edit around that. 47th in four-seam fastball spin rate among pitchers who threw 1,000 pitches in 2019. So that's in the same range as like Trevor Bauer, Madison Bumgarner, which.
Trevor Bauer's tweet the other day was hilarious.
Which one?
The one about the Astros with the background music, the Twilight Zone music.
Oh yeah, where he left a hanging curveball
of
and someone crushed it.
Right.
And then he did like the thinking face emoji over himself with the the Twilight. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Love Trevor Bauer on Twitter.
He's funny, but also probably clinically insane. I think he needs to be on some medication.
Pitchers need to be insane.
Especially him, though. He's up there. But like, yeah, all that matters. The line between crazy and eccentric is, are you good or not at what you do? Yeah. And right now he's kind of crazy because he's really good, but he's not Max Scherzer yet. Anyway, the spin rate on his curveball is kind of, I don't like these spin rate comparisons and cherry picking numbers because the top spin rate for fastballs. So like we're saying he's in the Trevor Bauer, Madison Bumgarner range. Super. But the top spin rates for fastballs were Jose Leclerc and Mike Minor.
Who?
Yeah. The top spin rates for curveball, Seth Lugo and Chris Stratton. The top spin rates for the slider, Trent Thornton and Miguel Castro. Chris Stratton also really high. So Chris Stratton's kind of showing up a lot.
I've heard of none of them.
My point is spin rate's really good and even a great measurement tool to kind of decide like deeper, like who's underperforming maybe, who could we get more out of on these pitches and whose pitches are being underutilized. He throws his fastball like 50% of the time. He's not underutilizing his fastball. The problem with his fastball was third time through the order, like many pitchers, the
spin rate goes down.
No, the percentage of swings and misses goes way down. Yeah. And that's not an uncommon problem among pitchers. And that's advanced scouts figure this, not even advanced scouts, regular scouts, Wade scouts can figure this out where third time through the order, the guy is kind of getting crushed.
Even Solly could figure that out.
Yeah. So my whole point is it's a really nice measurement tool, but it's not everything. And cherry picking stats and names to compare him to other pitchers can be really flawed. The same thing we're seeing this cherry picking stats with Lamar Jackson. He's won more games than Patrick Mahomes in his first 16 starts. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo's won more games than Tom Brady in his first 16 starts. So like, what does that really mean?
They have good defenses.
Yeah. My point is like, you can cherry pick stats all you want, but saying his spin rate was better than Max Scherzer, well, it was also worse than lower than Jose Leclerc. So what does that doesn't mean anything to me.
It's like that high school kid in basketball that only came in for like 1-3 on the year and he hit it. Just claims like 100% field goal percentage.
That's kind of what you did from high school, right?
It's false, fake news.
Here's the number I was looking for. The isolated power numbers, not the swings and misses. The isolated power numbers, third time through the order on his fastball, skyrocket. So anyway, this is the big separator for Lamet is that his numbers go way down third time through the order. So that's kind of why he hasn't reached that next level yet. And sure, he's had moments. Like I remember last year, he struck out 16 Brewers in like 6 innings. Do you remember that game in Milwaukee? Yeah. He's a stud. His fastball, which he uses a ton, is a great pitch. His slider or his two sliders or whatever you want to call them are both really good pitches. He's starting to mix in a curveball. He's starting to mix in a changeup, which is shown to be a really plus pitch for him when he uses it. I don't know if that's a Balsley thing or not. I don't know what's Rothschild going to do with Roths? Is it Rothschild or Rothschild? I think it's Rothschild.
It's a lot of saliva in that
I know it's really hard to say. I miss Balsley already. But the point I'm making is that going to be a change that we see from him going forward? More changeups, or are we just going to see him pound the zone with his fastball slider? Because during the first, 2/3 of the season, he was throwing his four-seam fastball like 57% of the time. And the sinker, not very often, the slider, like 42% of the time. And the changeup, hardly any. Earlier in the season, he was using the changeup a little bit more, and then he got away from it towards the end of the season. So in my mind, he started throwing the sinker again late in the season too. So by the end of the season, he was a 3-pitch pitcher, basically. The four-seam fastball, 33% of the time. The slider, 44% of the time. And the sinker, 22% of the time. And that's kind of a trend we've seen from some other pitchers who have had success recently. I'm thinking Patrick Corbin, who throws his slider as like his primary pitch. He throws it more often than his fastball. And that's what we saw from Lamet at the end of last season. And Corbin, little trouble with his command. We saw in the World Series, he's kind of had those issues up and down throughout his career, but also good ERA numbers, good FIP numbers, really high strikeout numbers. And we see the same thing from Lamet. Is Lamet going to be a 3-pitch pitcher going forward? Fastball, slider, sinker with like a show me changeup once in a while that I don't know what that really does. He threw it less than 1% of the time in his last outing. I don't know what we're going to see from his arsenal moving forward, but if he's a 2-pitch pitcher or if he's, a 3-pitch pitcher, I guess, who walks 10% of the guys he faces and can't get through a batting order 3 times, does that... I like Lamet.
That's not an ace.
No, but that doesn't sound like an ace to you, does it? Because aces go through the order 3 times and they pitch deep into games and they don't walk people.
Right.
So I like Lamet a lot as like a number 2, a number 3 guy in the rotation. Love him as that. But I think this article, and hey, go get him in fantasy next year because he's probably going to be really cheap. Probably a free agent in fantasy if you do a draft, or in dynasty leagues, go fucking get him for nothing. I think he's got like Luis Castillo type potential on the Reds, where he's basically a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, changeup, 3 and slider. And like he's a big strikeout guy and he does really well, but I don't see that player becoming an ace unless some other things are added to his repertoire and if he can pitch deeper into games.
The key with him, availability is your best ability.
Can he stay healthy for a full season? This is the season where you're no longer coming back from Tommy John, and it's supposed to be kind of like just turn him loose. Like he was on a pitch count all of last year. He's built his innings back up. He's got another full off season to kind of get ready, spring training. He's in the rotation and he can probably pitch 150 innings this year.
Sink or swim.
I think he pitched about 80 innings at with the Padres last year. That doesn't count any of his rehab or anything. So could he go up to 120, 130 innings? I think definitely. Before we get out of here, it's time to lose some money with our locks of the week.
Target locked.
I got us back on track last week, though, with a big win picking the Raiders, covering against the Chargers. I think they were +1 at the time, or -1, whatever it was.
How funny was that Chargers collapse?
So Chargers.
Loved it.
We're very anti-Chargers on this show, if you couldn't tell. But I had a very good week. I went 4-1. I think you went 4-1 on your picks, too, right?
I did.
So we're hot. Who do you like this week?
I like the Arizona Cardinals.
That's a weird call.
11.5 against the Niners.
It doesn't. Okay, yeah, they're on the road, and it doesn't worry you that they just played the Niners super hard, and now the Niners aren't ready for them.
No.
Like 2 weeks ago they played.
No.
Doesn't worry you.
Short week for the Niners, coming off an extended Monday night game.
Yeah, okay. There's some logic there.
11.5 points is a shit ton.
It's a lot of points in the NFL. College, it's not a lot. But NFL 11.5 is a huge number, and I'm pretty shocked that that number is so big with the card, considering how they just played the Niners. But it doesn't worry you at all that they're going to the road. Are they kind of hot, right? I don't know. David Johnson's hurt. You don't care about any of that, I guess?
No.
Okay. I like the New England Patriots.
Shocker.
I've won a lot of money on the Patriots this year. Okay, they're coming off their embarrassing loss at home to Baltimore. They're laying 4 points on the road at Philly. I think that Philly, first of all, Philly's not any good. Not confident in Philly at all. But the defense coming off this bye week, with Bill Belichick off a bye week, are you kidding me? And they're playing Philadelphia, which is not far for them. It's like a 2-hour bus ride or whatever it's going to be. I'm thinking a huge Patriots win here. I'm thinking double digits. I think you should buy some points if you can, which I'm probably going to do.
Going to do a little teaser this weekend?
No, I'm not going to tease the Patriots. I think I lost both my teasers last week.
I don't think I've ever won a teaser.
They seem so tempting, and then they never hit for some reason.
Never won a teaser.
But I would buy New England points, which I'm definitely going to do. And if you're not going to, just lay the 4 at Philly. I think that's an easy lock of the week. We're going to pick them in Super, by the way. Have to.
Debatable. After your Browns were...
I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you for listening. As always, please follow the show's Twitter account at Friar Farmhands. And if you enjoy the show, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us how much you liked it. Troll us on Twitter. I don't really care. We're on all your favorite platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, and iHeart.
You can also find us at Believe.com and at Believe Podcasts. Please leave your comments, questions, concerns, shit-talking, and your rating of the show on all platforms.
Mostly shit-talking, probably. Someone who left a terrible review on, was it iTunes or Spotify?
There's reviews.
There was a review. Lauren was telling us that we got a bad review. Someone listened to our show and was like, these guys, it was for such a dumb reason too. Like we proposed like a fictional signing, free agent signing. And the guy's like, it's trash signing. This is a terrible show. Don't listen. Anyway, we'll appreciate any of those. So leave those if you want. You've been listening to Believe in Padres Prospects on the Believe Podcast Network, San Diego's #1 sports podcast network. For Wade, I'm Ryan. Peace out.
I'm done. Where is this podcast the moment they seriously considered trading for a 30-year-old Charlie Blackmon and eating the entire contract? There are a million more informed Padre podcasts. Please, done. Do you want me waste your time like I did?
It's done.
Just move on toward your destination, though you may find from time to time.
Like you go to your grandparents for Thanksgiving and reset their router and they think you're God.
Oh yeah, it's like our Wi-Fi's been out for 3 weeks. Like when I was living abroad, my parents would call me and be like, "Hey, the TV is not working. Like, what can we do?" And I could tell them through Skype how to fix the TV on with a remote.